give it to me. This is where the line draws. Love becomes the enemy. Cause it's to explain it. Never gonna get so far. Now as I say goodbye, tell me was it worth the lie? Was it worth the lie? Was it worth the lie? Everything's the same now. Yeah, you can give it to me. This is where the line draws. Love becomes the enemy. Cause it's to explain it. Never gonna get so far. Now as I say goodbye, tell me was it worth the lie? Everything's the same now. Come on, you can give it to me. This is where the line draws. Love becomes the enemy. Cause it's to explain it. Never gonna get so far. Now as I say goodbye, tell me was it worth the lie? 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 Tell me was it worth the lie? Was there something in my walk, how I talk, giving off the wrong energy? Was there something in my stride, too much pride, telling you to back down? Slowly, slowly you became my enemy. But you can't say to get
In a series like the highpoint.com Highline Racing League, consistency matters, skill matters, and being competent on every single kind of track matters. And it's come down to the final week here. The two titans of the Highline Racing League, Scott Wheeler Jr. and Alan Kunman, enter the season finale 3 points apart. And the wheel in the sky was spun for one final time. And where did it land? Where else but Richmond? This will set the stage for the season finale. Wheeler versus Kunman in the Highline Racing League highpoint.com Premier Series. Hello, I'm Joey Tebben. With me is Sarah Tessum. Director Zach Johnson is the director. And for the first time ever, we're here on FTF.GG. It's not the other acronym anymore. It's FTF.GG. We're here. 4 minutes left in qualifying at the moment. There's Patrick Green in the 87 going down the back straight. He is in a fight for some position, but it's not for first, so we'll probably be seeing a little bit less of him than we will be of the two championship contenders tonight, but so far in qualifying, he is up front.
I gotta tell you, Joey, I am really excited for this points battle that is shaping up in front of us, especially at a track like Richmond, where really anything can happen here. And with Scott Wheeler Jr. and Alan Kunman only being 3 points separated, it really is anyone's game with how the bonus point situation ends up. A win gives 7 bonus points, so if either of those two win, they take the championship automatically.
There are the point standings on your screen right now. Scott Wheeler Jr. 3 points ahead of Alan Kunman. Caleb Morrissey basically has third place on lock unless something goes terribly wrong tonight. And the battle for fourth between Zellner, Green, Kerr, and McKee could not be closer. Kress and Malarkey battling for the final spot in the top 10. And a couple other stragglers all around that we'll be seeing a little bit of from tonight. But it'll be the championship battle we're doing most of our focusing on this evening. At the moment, our two championship contenders, Scott Wheeler Jr. is the only one to set a lap so far, and he's only fourth.
That he is. Wheeler Jr. was looking pretty quick in practice there. Kunman a little bit slower, a few hundredths slower per lap on average. But yeah, Scott Wheeler Jr. not being able to yet match his practice time in qualifying, about 800ths off. We'll see if this second lap of his can put him up at the front. Of course, qualifying pole position does net you a bonus point, and when these two guys are only 3 points apart, those bonus points are going to matter, especially if neither of them wins the race and bags that 7 bonus point for winning. It's going to come down to it.
Alan Kunman has left pit lane. He waited until the last possible minute. IndyCar open, fixed, whatever style. He's getting as much heat into the tires as possible. Average qualifying positions over the course of the season. Scott Wheeler Jr. 9.3, Alan Kunman 5.5. So Kunman has historically been a better qualifier, but Wheeler's been the better racer on average. Kunman has been very quick on the short tracks, though. Remember, he won at USA and he won at Milwaukee. Both are probably the most similar tracks to this place on the schedule. Wheeler, on the other hand, won at Indianapolis, and he won at Charlotte, 2 bigger tracks. But we'll see how Kunman stacks up here. He's going to finish his warm-up lap, and we'll see what Kunman has in the tank for his championship contender. Behind Wheeler.
Yeah, not a superbly strong lap from him, but we'll see if he can take another 10th off or so here. It would really behoove him to get up front here and get a gap between him and Wheeler at the start of the race.
Coming to the line, this is crucial. The second lap for Alan Kunman in the 8. Is it faster? It is. It's a 22.333, but it's not good enough for pole. Ryan Potter, at the moment, is going to get that extra point. Unless Adam Bossy has something in the tank, he should be out on track shortly if he chooses to qualify. But right now, advantage Kunman, because even if he doesn't win, look at the amount of positions between him and Wheeler. That's 3 positions, and I don't know how the count back would work if they tie. We'll have to figure that out eventually, but at the moment, I would argue that it's advantage Kunman.
That said, Kunman not able to get that pole position. That 1 bonus point could matter. If Scott Wheeler Jr. wins this race, Kunman would have to lead the most laps, gain the most positions, which will probably not happen considering he is starting second, and have 0 incident points in order to tie Scott Wheeler Jr. if Scott Wheeler Jr. wins this race. So Kunman has really got to get a strong start off the line here and try to get some distance and win this race.
Well, we'll be focusing on them too, but our pole sitter is Ryan Potter. That's kind of a shock. He's had front running speed at occasions over the course of the season, but he hasn't been here for all the races. He's only been around for 7 of them, and he's only had 2 top 10s in those 7 races, none of them in the top 5. So Ryan Potter, maybe a little bit of a wild card up here up front. James McKee, he's a race winner. He's usually up front. And Roberto Ramirez there starts 4th. This is his first race since Daytona, as far as I know. Maybe he was there at Bristol, but either way, it's been a long time since we've seen him. Brad Kress alongside Scott Wheeler Jr. on that 3rd row. Then it's Scott Zellner, another 2-time winner. No, he's a 1-time winner. Just kidding. Justin Malarkey hasn't won at all. And Kendall Kerr and Patrick Green round out the top 10.
Going into the bottom half of the field, we have Caleb Morrissey and Cody Robinson bringing up 11th, 12th. Jeff Marish and Andrew Siegel taking up 13 and 14. Tyler Snyder and Adam Bossi taking up 15 and 16. And Dylan Petit and Toby Wedgwood bringing up the rear of the field. The last 3 not setting a time in qualifying. So we'll see if they get a chance to work their way up through the field. We'll see what kind of speed they have. Adam Bossi was putting down some decent lap times in practice, so I'd expect to see him be a big mover in this race.
Yeah, that is interesting. Adam Bossi, 22.352, his best time in practice, but did not set a time. Like you said, he'll be starting nearly shotgun on the field, but maybe he's going for that most overtakes point. Adam Bossi, a fan favorite in our YouTube chat sometimes, so I'm sure the whole Adam Bossi posse will be rooting for him in the chat as he tries to streak his way through the field from down there in 16th. But look at Alan Kunman up front. He's desperate to get going, weaving some last little bits of heat into that tires. It's Richmond, so we're going to go around for a second pace lap, but the tension is palpable.
Yeah, I'm getting a little nervous waiting for this race start. And we are talking about Ryan Potter here, and it looks like he actually nabbed pole position back at USA Speedway. So I guess not too much of a surprise he nabbed the pole position here, but like you said, we'll see if he can actually stay up towards the front of the field. He hasn't won a race yet this year, not that many top 5s. So we'll see if this is his chance to hang on to it.
Well, you know who won that race at USA? Yes, you do, because you were there. Alan Kunman won that, so maybe that's a good sign for him if he can pull off that statistic, winning every race that Ryan Potter's qualified on pole for. But we'll never know until it happens. They finally end the weaving and the getting of the heat into the tires. Kunman prepares for the start of his life. Scott Wheeler Jr. prepares to move his way through the field, and Ryan Potter is going to lead them to green in about 5 seconds. We're green at Richmond for the season finale.
And it looks like right off the start, Potter able to maintain that inside line, and Kunman is making a move towards the outside. We'll see if he can get that done on the back straight, and it looks like he's ahead and has that move done. Already out into the lead is Alan Kunman with a magnificent move out of 2.
Smooth like butter around the outside. Alan Kunman streaks around the outside like absolutely nothing, and he's going to lead lap 1. Put that in the counter. That's 1 extra bonus point already for leading that first lap, and he's going to try and run away from Potter while Wheeler is still stuck back in 5th.
Yeah, with these short races, Kunman has shown he's definitely got the longer-term pace and is able to pull out those big leads over even the P2 cars. So I'd expect him, if this stays green, to streak out in front here and get a pretty good lead. And looks like the rest of the field behind him pretty clean so far, being a little bit cautious on the first laps to not screw up their competitors' chances at the championship.
Yeah, everybody in the top 7 for the moment. Top 8, single file. We go back to Malarkey, who's in a battle with Patrick Green. Malarkey sends it to the inside of Kendall Kerr. But the bottom line, not quite working out for him. He's going to have to get in line, and looks like it's maybe a little bit of tire conservation here. A little bit of a parade for the first couple laps as the drivers start to get their bearings.
Yeah, Richmond is a track that definitely rewards patience. You've got to hit your line every single lap. You have to hit your braking, your lifting, your steering. You have to hit everything exactly perfect every single lap to maintain that pace. It's such a difficult track to drive quickly. So I think we'll see a lot of these drivers kind of hunkering down and just trying to get that long-term pace going, so they don't push their car a little bit too hard and themselves a little bit too hard in these early stages.
1/28th of the race is complete, and Alan Kunman has led that entire 28th. Scott Wheeler Jr. up to 4th now. He's gotten by Kress, he's gotten by Ramirez. Next up is McKee, but up front, Ryan Potter has gotten to the inside of Kunman. He's going to take the lead here. I didn't see what happened. I think Alan Kunman might have just got out of the groove a little bit.
Yeah, he did. He started sliding up a little bit to that middle lane, and Ryan Potter was able to keep it nice and tidy right on the apron there and pass back to take the lead.
And Kunman has to make the move back here, because if he finishes second here with Wheeler in 4th, that is no championship for you, Alan. So he's going to be desperate to get by Potter in the 47 here, as Potter leads his first lap of the race. Finally, he gets that point under his belt as well. James McKee still there in 3rd. And Scott Wheeler Jr., it looks to me like he might just be hanging back a little bit. He's not up there with those top 3, as Morrissey, our defending winner from Bristol Dirt, is attacking Roberto Ramirez. Roberto hasn't raced in this series in a while. I don't know how much he's driven the ARCA car since we last saw him, but at the moment, it's a little bit of a Roberto Ramirez train.
Yeah, indeed, holding up the midfield. That's going to be good for Alan Kunman, actually. So you mentioned with the point situation is that if Alan Kunman doesn't win the race and doesn't finish at least 3 positions ahead of Scott Wheeler Jr., Scott Wheeler Jr. is going to take this thing. So that train forming back there kind of makes it so Scott Wheeler Jr. can't drop that many positions, at least in this stage of the race. So that's a bad sign for Kunman if he can't take back the lead here.
Kunman, though, is all over the back of Potter now. He's not close enough to send it into turn 1, but he's definitely there. He's making Potter aware of that. But Potter, no mistakes through turn 1, no bobbles. I do remember at USA, Potter was one of the quicker drivers. He did start on pole, but I remember he made a costly mistake. He spun across the track, and I think he might have actually made contact with Alan Kunman when that happened. So looks like he's a little bit calmer, a little bit more collected at the moment, because I'm not seeing a single mistake from Potter, as the most pressure he's ever felt is behind him, a championship contender in Alan Kunman.
Yeah, he's had a really smooth race so far, as we were saying. I mean, he's hitting his lifting, his braking, his turn-ins perfectly, just kind of getting into that rhythm.
Caution is out, and it is Andrew Siegel in the number 5. Unfortunately, backwards against the outside wall. We made it 13 laps, but the caution is out. I believe he might have got a little bit of help. I do not think that was Siegel's fault. We'll have to take a look at a replay. I think it might have been Tyler Snyder.
Yeah, it looks like Tyler Snyder got up into his bumper a little bit, turned him around. Unfortunate for Siegel there.
Yeah, poor old Andrew Siegel. And unfortunately, he seems to be the cause of cautions quite a bit, but it never seems like it's his fault. There's been a couple times, but other than that, it seems like people just like running this guy over. Siegel gets turned by Snyder and then backs it into the outside wall. Not going to be heavy damage on that 5, he hopes, but Morash and Snyder both slowed down by that, and we pack the entire field back up. And are people coming in pit lane? A couple of them are.
Yeah, it looks like Siegel actually had a lockup going into the corner there, so he was going quite a bit slower through that corner in 4 than the guys behind him expect, which is, I think, why Snyder got up into him. Doesn't look like it was any intentional bumping or anything like that.
So Kunman and Wheeler, none of them came in. The entirety of the top 4 stayed out. But behind them, Ramirez is in, Malarkey is in, Kerr is in, Green, Robinson, Morash, Siegel. Malarkey's going to lead him off pit road. This is interesting because these aren't the championship contending drivers, but they've got battles of their own in the battle for 4th, the battle for 10th, and the battle for all those random positions in between. It's very close, and I wonder with Justin Malarkey leading the race off pit road. He's in the battle with Brad Crest for that last spot in the top 10, potentially 9th with Dylan Poteet as well. It's an alternate strategy. Is the risk going to be worth it? Has 15 laps been enough for new tires to actually do anything?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, once we get deeper into a run here, those 15 laps can make a big difference if we stay green for a while. But I think if you're one of those guys you're not going to win the championship, you're battling for 10th or 5th or something like that, and you find yourself a ways back in the field from your competitors, I think you just have to try something different. It's the last race. You've got to get as many points as you can. I think you're just rolling the dice.
And also a question that's going to be on Ryan Potter's mind is, does he choose the inside or the outside here? At the start, Kunman used that outside to his advantage and swept around the outside. So does Potter maybe choose to start on the outside here?
Yeah, as we saw, Kunman was able to make that pass quick. Potter eventually came back after a few laps on the inside. The inside line's a little bit preferable from what we've seen with these drivers tonight, but you can definitely get some speed off the restart off that outside line and try to catch your competitors off guard at least. So it does look like Potter took the inside line, though, and I myself would have to agree with that, I think.
Well, Kundman is going to hope that it's the same thing that happened on the start. He's going to hope he can sweep around the outside, but those tires are 15 laps older than they once were, so we'll see if he can do the same. And you know what else is different? Wheeler isn't 2 rows behind Kundman. He's 1 row behind him. They're bumper to bumper, the 8 and the 97. Your 2 championship contenders. The iRacing sedan pace car pulls onto pit road, and for the second time this evening, we're going green at Richmond. Phenomenal start by Kundman on the outside to stay side by side with Potter, but that high line, it's not working out for him. He's going to fall back, and now he's at risk from James McKee in the 9. Or at least he was.
Yeah, it's just looking like that high line's not giving as much grip as that low line there. Kunman definitely struggled a bit more off of that restart than the first one we saw, but able to salvage that restart and fall back into second place there to try to chase down Potter. Scott Wheeler Jr. also struggling a little bit on the outside, not able to pass up to get right behind Kunman, and now he's under attack from Brad Kress, Scott Zellner, Caleb Morrissey, 3 wide behind him.
Morrissey to the bottom. Kress kind of backed out of that one. Can't blame him. He didn't want to be a 3-wide wreck into the wall. Kress loses about 3 positions. Zellner, Morrissey, and Poteet go through into the top 7 as Kress continues to fall back. But up in 3rd, Wheeler's all over the back of McKee. He wants that 3rd place, and he wants to be right behind Kunman. He almost got him at the start. He got a little bit impatient, though. Bobble from McKee down the front straight. Wheeler's going to send it down to the bottom, and I can't imagine McKee's going to fight this one very hard. Wheeler side by side with him. They're going to be side by side down the back straight, but I think Wheeler's going to have him.
Yeah, looks like McKee got on the brakes a little bit early, kind of let Wheeler have that line and then fell in behind him on the low line instead of fighting him through the high line one more time, recognizing Wheeler's just a little bit faster at this stage of the race. Terrific situation for Wheeler. As we've said, he really only needs to just babysit Kunman. He just has to be near him and make sure that Kunman doesn't win the race. So he's got to get right up to him now and race him hard, I think.
There's quite a gaggle a few positions back as Ramirez and Snyder are side by side. This is for 11th place, just outside of the top 10. Just kidding, now it's for 12th as Malarkey takes care of them. Ramirez slides up just a little bit. And while we're looking at this, Kendall Kerr, Roberto Ramirez, those are the guys who pitted for fresh tires. And as I comment on them, Ramirez puts it in the wall and loses all the progress he made up. But these guys are the drivers on fresh tires, and they're the ones we have to watch to see if they can actually make their way through the field on these fresher tires.
Yeah, we won't quite see that difference in tire life right now because 15 laps, it's not going to make a huge difference immediately. But yeah, if we get 40, 50 laps into this race and the front runners still haven't pitted yet, we're going to start seeing a pretty significant pace difference potentially.
Snyder to the inside of Ramirez. Snyder on old tires, Ramirez on new tires. Can Ramirez sweep it around the outside? He hasn't been able to yet. He's got the momentum, and now he is finally clear. But up front, who else is clear? Alan Kundman is clear. Just got by Ryan Potter for the lead. Championship implications. Suddenly, Kundman's back in contention.
Yeah, terrific move from him, just kind of getting it on the low line there, letting Potter wash up and make his own mistake. And yeah, now he's leading this race, currently leading the championship fight if we had live points.
There's that defensive line down the back straight. He doesn't want Ryan Potter getting that position back, but he's got to make sure he doesn't do what he did last time. He can't make that mistake into turn one again. Oh, but he's a little bit deep that time. Not deep enough to let Potter by, though.
Yeah, his car's looking stable on turn-in, but I have to imagine with this, with him washing up just a little bit, his tires are probably crying for some help right there as he's pushing to maintain this lead in this race here. I mean, his championship depends on it. He has to win this race, more or less.
Luckily for him, Wheeler's running about the same lap times. It was a 22.85 for Kundman. It was a 22.83 for Wheeler that last time, so it's not like Wheeler is charging up much further. Wheeler, probably one of the biggest movers of the season. We talked about his starting position in qualifying, how he was almost 4 positions on average behind Kundman in qualifying. Well, Wheeler was 1 position ahead of Kundman on average race finishes. So Wheeler, usually the overtaker, usually the big mover. But right now, he's got 2 big moves that he really needs to make here if he wants to win this championship.
Yeah, from what I've seen from him, he's been a really patient driver this season, almost a shark in the water. I mean, he's pretty content sitting back in 3rd, 4th, 5th. I think one of the race I was commentating with you, Joey, he was even sitting back in 7th or 8th for the majority of the race, and then yet found himself up in the top 5 at the end. I mean, he knows when to make the move, and we've still got 110 laps to go in this race, so I think 3rd is good enough for him right now. We'll definitely see some more cautions. We'll see some more pit stops. He's definitely got the chance to overtake Kundman later on. Right now, he's just making sure that he doesn't drain too much of his mental energy in these early stages, kind of saving his energy for the end of the race when it's really going to matter.
Don't dry up that Sharpie, Scott. Keep it nice and fresh, and maybe you'll be able to draw the front 2 in. Ryan Potter is all over the back of the 8 still. He hasn't let him go. I thought Kundman would maybe streak away a little bit, but he is not at all. Potter maybe giving him a little bit of a wider berth as to not wreck the championship leader-elect, but he's still all over the back of him, and he's keeping him company. He's keeping him honest.
Yeah, he's being a little bit cautious when he finds himself behind the championship contender here, but I mean, you can tell Potter really wants this win. If you've been in his shoes, I mean, you do a league like this, you get pole a couple times in the league, you expect to win at that point if you're quick enough to get pole. So he's probably pretty thirsty and looking for this win tonight. I mean, he is racing very hard behind Kundman and really pushing it.
A little bit slower than Kundman that time around, though, as here's Caleb Morrissey. Speaking of driving your way through the field, Morrissey started 11th. He's now up to 4th, or he will be up to 4th if he ever clears McKee. Down to the bottom, the 6 and the 9. Looks like McKee's going to hang on the high side for the moment, but Morrissey's not going away through turn 1. Are they still going to be stuck together side by side? No. Yes, they are. For a moment, and now Morrissey's clear of him. Morrissey now the biggest mover of the race by my count, 11th to 4th, 7 spots up. That's 1 extra point to him. That's good for his fight for 3rd, but now he's looking forward at the top 3. Morrissey's never won a race on an asphalt track so far this season. He's only won a dirt race, so maybe he could be the underdog here. Maybe he can take the glory.
Yeah, certainly looking to make it 2 in a row here after winning at Bristol Dirt last race. I mean, he's definitely got the pace. He was putting in decent times in practice, put in kind of an okay time in qualifying. But yeah, heavy movers so far. He's showing pace. Not all those positions were just from the pit stops. I mean, he's making passes out there. So I'd expect to see him remain in the top 5 for a while here.
Ryan Potter barely got to the inside of Kundman. Now he's completely to the inside of Kundman. The battle for the lead rages on. The number 47 did finally get that bottom line, but Kundman runs it all the way up to the wall on the high side. He's still up there, about 2 lanes up, but he's got the better run on exit, and Kundman looks like he's going to hang on for the moment.
Yeah, good defending from Kundman there, kind of just giving up that bottom line, grabbing a higher line. They can give him the better corner exit, keep the lead on the back straight there. Textbook defense.
But Wheeler Jr. was faster that lap, which is understandable as they were fighting side by side, and they still are, as Kunman seems to just be trying to run that higher line. But if these two continue to run side by side and slow each other down, that's just reeling Wheeler back in, and he's very happy to see that. Morrissey as well. As they cross the line this time, Wheeler's still about a 10th faster than these front two, so Kunman needs to find a way to get Ryan Potter off his butt.
Yeah, shark in the water, like I was saying, Wheeler Jr. is inching up behind these two, looking to get into that top two, maybe even lead this race here, while these guys basically, go a 10th slower per lap from having to defend against each other.
Kunman super deep again through the middle of the corner, and he didn't have the greatest exit that time, so Potter all over the back of him again. While Kunman seems to be able to hold on to this position, he doesn't seem to be able to run away from Potter at all. Potter's desperately trying to use that bottom lane, but again, it's tantalizingly close, it's frustratingly close, but he just can't get alongside him again.
Yeah, Kunman's car looking a little bit tight right now. It's kind of just washing up the track even when he's in the lead here. I'm not sure he can actually help that because, in his position, you want to keep that low line, and he did on that corner right there on turn 3 and 4, but we see him consistently washing up. Can't imagine those tires are very happy with him right now.
Potter, a decent exit onto the back straight again, but it's the tail we've seen for the last dozen laps. He gets close. He's actually going to try and go for a little bit of a higher line this time, but it's not going to work just yet. Kunman holds the lead as we cross the line to start lap number 44. There's only 0.4 of a second covering the top three, and there's Wheeler. Wheeler is there. He's almost to the bumper of Potter. It's truly a three-way battle now.
Yeah, I think Wheeler's going to try to stick it on the bottom here in one of the next few corners, see if he can't catch Potter out and grab that P2 for the cheap price of free. But it looks like Potter able to take the low line and get around Kunman in turns 1 and 2. Scott Wheeler Jr. coming up alongside Kunman as well.
Kunman on the high line, though, has that momentum. He held side by side. Is Wheeler going to send it 3 wide here? He looks at the hole on the bottom. He doesn't find a way by, and at the line, it's basically a photo finish. It is a photo finish. Kunman leads that lap by 0 thousandths of a second, and he does hang on by the slimmest of margins, but Potter back to the bottom, still holding tough. It's side by side, 2 by 2. This is not the pace lap. Alan Kunman on the outside still. Potter maybe needs to force him up a little bit higher, but he doesn't. Potter leads that lap by 3 thousandths of a second, but Kunman's not going anywhere.
Wheeler Jr. making a big lunge here, as well as Caleb Morrissey right next to him. He's going to be coming up right behind Kunman here. We've got a whole gaggle up at the front now. It's anybody's race at this point.
Yeah, these two are really holding up the rest of the pack. James McKee's there. Scott Zellner's going to be up here soon. But these two can't seem to separate each other from each other. At the line again, 0 thousandths of a second. A photo finish. Kunman led it by a nose. Wheeler, a terrible exit from him there. It looks like he might have to slot in behind Morrissey, who's going to be up to third. Morrissey is really the underdog here tonight. Kunman's going to lead it by more than he has for the past couple laps, and he might be able to clear Potter into turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like Kunman's able to get that high line to start working now after the tires from Potter start wearing out. That inside line's going to go a little bit, and Kunman able to get a definite lead now going into 3 and 4. Scott Wheeler Jr. right back on the bumper of Potter, and Morrissey passing Potter on the outside.
Yeah, look who's home. It's Caleb Morrissey. Is he going to go around the outside of Kunman here? I think he's going to try to. He had a decent run, but he loses all of his momentum on the exit as he washes up almost into the outside wall. He has that optimal outside line on Potter, but unfortunately for him, he's also got Kunman in front of him, who's kind of blocking up the lane.
Yeah, he's going to be really looking for a chance here where he's going to be looking for Kunman to go low to block Potter, and then Morrissey can put the pedal to the metal, try to take that outside line and get the pass on both of them. That's what he's going to be looking for up there.
It was a very, very good exit onto the back straight, but again, he just ran into the wall of Kunman and couldn't quite clear Potter. He's still running in second, but he wants more than second. He wants to get rid of Potter for one thing, but you can see there, Kunman's so slow up there, but he's quick on the exit, which is what matters. And Morrissey's hoping he can tow him along, but they're just not going anywhere.
It looks like Wheeler Jr. making another lunge here right behind Potter. Looks like, and a little bit of scorn there coming out of 4. He is pushing hard to stay with this crew. He really wants that lead. James McKee putting his nose in things now.
Morrissey, I think he thought about 3 wide there, but he thought better of it, didn't stick his nose in. Kunman once again almost clear of Potter into the corner, but he stays up on that high line. To the line, he's going to lead once more. A big wiggle from Wheeler. Now McKee's going to get to that outside line, that outside train, and he's going to try and pass Wheeler for 4th.
Yeah, I think if you're Wheeler here, you've just had 2 big squirms on the rear end of your car in the same corner 2 laps in a row. Those tires are starting to get a little bit toasty. You've been on them since the start of the race. You might just have to give up 4th position here, take the 5th position, wait until pit stops, and just be a little bit patient with it. That said, if he lets Kunman run away with the win, he does win the championship, so it's a bit of a tough call strategy-wise from Wheeler here. Do you push extra hard, run the risk of crashing your car? Do you play it patient? And there he goes on the inside of Ryan Potter.
Yeah, that was a critical bobble from Potter. He lost Morrissey, he lost Kunman, and now he's at risk of losing this spot to Scott Wheeler Jr. Wheeler on the inside of Potter, McKee behind, and you see who else is behind. That's Kendall Kerr on those newer tires. We're 56 laps into the stint, 41 for him. So he's got fresher tires, and he's looking at all these slow pokes on those old tires, and he's thinking, I might be able to get these 5 positions pretty easy.
Yeah, Zellner, Crescent Green also coming right back, and Ramirez too putting in there. We're getting real bunched up here, and like you said, we're starting to see the difference in those tires. I mean, 15 laps doesn't sound like a lot on a track like this. That's, only a few minutes of time, but as we can see, it's making a huge difference in this middle stage of this race.
Super deep from Kunman into the final corner. Morrissey tried to take advantage of it, as you see Kendall Kerr to the inside of McKee. The bottom line doesn't seem to be the optimal line, but on those fresh tires, is it? The bottom line for Caleb Morrissey, he's hoping it's optional. The 6 on the 8. Caleb Morrissey does use the bottom line to his advantage. At the line, does he lead the lap? No, he doesn't. Kunman hangs on, but Morrissey is fighting tough down there. But Kunman looks like the outside's still going to work for him.
And Morrissey getting a huge slide out of 2 there and 4 on the previous lap. He is pushing real hard, but I mean, he really wants that lap lead point, and it looks like he'll grab it coming to the line. He is our new race leader.
Caleb Morrissey, the big mover, 11th to 1st under green. Caleb Morrissey leads the lap by about a mile, and he's completely clear of Alan Kunman. And this is critical because Kunman's not in the lead. The championship is now back in Wheeler Jr.'s hands. He might know that right now as he goes for a dive on Potter. And the caution is out. Who is it? It's the 33 of Tyler Snyder again.
Yeah, looking back, it looks like coming out of 2, just got a little bit loose, overcorrected, car swung back and forth a few times, self-spun, didn't really hit anything, but the caution flag comes out nonetheless. That is very good for these front runners who can now get on some fresh tires, and the guys that were on the 15-lap newer tires are also going to want to pit here. They don't want to risk seeing another 40 laps of green flag.
What a save by Tyler Snyder. That's all I could think when I was looking at that. There's a full 360 or a 720 or some amount of spins, but that was incredible. Well done, Tyler Snyder. I mean, not well done for bringing out the caution, but well done for saving that thing. And now this is critical. Don't overshoot your pit box. Alan Kunman has the optimal pit box as the 2nd place starter. Potter in the first pit stall overcooks it, and he has to back up. That's dead. That's death for Potter. He's going to go all the way to the back of the field, I think. And if Kunman has an optimal pit stop here, he's not going to come out in the lead. Morrissey is, and you can see bye-bye Ryan Potter all the way to the back of the field. That's a costly mistake.
Yeah, that was a few seconds too. It doesn't look like he realized his mistake right away or couldn't get it in reverse gear. I mean, he sat there in front of his marks for quite a while. That's going to put him way back in the midfield as we were all bunched up right before that yellow came up. And it looks like literally every car did pit except Siegel, who now has a lap lead.
Yeah, see, I think Siegel usually tries to do that just to get that point. So, I mean, good on him. As long as he doesn't restart out there on 47 lap younger or older tires. But something I noticed as they were leaving the pits, Alan Kundman, he went below the second green cone, and as far as I know, that's legal, but it looked strange. I don't know. Could he get an unsafe pit exit penalty for that, or is that in the rule book? I guess the answer will be seen here as we go through turn 3 and 4. Does he come down for... well, Siegel comes down, of course. I think Kundman's good. I think I'm making something out of nothing. I think you can do what he did. So Kundman trying to get every last tenth in the pit lane. It worked out for him, but he's going to restart second here. For the first time, it's not going to be Ryan Potter leading the restart. It's going to be Caleb Morrissey. And where's Ryan Potter? He's down in 12th. That's how much that bobble in the pits cost him. It lost him 11 spots.
Yeah, that was a costly mistake, and it just goes to show when you're in a league like this, you have to practice everything from driving the track all the way down to stopping on your marks in the pits. I mean, mistakes happen. I've definitely been there, missing my marks on a critical pit stop. It's really, really hard to come back from shooting yourself in the foot like that, especially after qualifying pole. But I mean, he was showing some good pace out in front, able to hold Kundman at bay for a large majority of that race. So he's still got 76 or so laps.
The iRacing sedan pace car pulls off once more, and Caleb Morrissey runs away with it out front. It looks like last week on the dirt. He's got about 5 car lengths ahead of Kundman now as they exit turn 2. He's going to streak away. Kundman, though, is a little bit closer to Wheeler behind him, and somebody's in the wall. No caution for it. I think that's it's Dylan Poteet. That's critical for him. He was in the fight for that last spot in the top 10. That's not good. But James McKee to the inside of Wheeler. Kerr to the inside of Zellner on fresh tires, and Kerr's going to lose it. Kerr's going to lose it. Don't go up the track, Kerr. No caution. Yes, there is a caution. I didn't think there would be. I didn't think he went up the track, but down on the apron, Kendall Kerr spins. Maybe just not used to those fresh tires, those cold tires, and he looped it.
Yeah, I mean, very, very innocent mistake there. Mid-corner, just the rear end stepped out a little bit too much. I mean, not much you can do to save it at that point once it starts stepping out. I mean, at least his car's in good shape where you can start making his way back up the field, but that's a little bit disappointing from him when he was running near the front the majority of this race, and now he's got to come back all the way from 17th to try to get back up and get some points for that battle for 5th in the championship, 4th and 5th.
And you just saw Dylan Poteet there, his little incident down the back straight. I couldn't quite understand what that was. He was not going that quick. I think he might have upshifted or downshifted accidentally or something, and he just mysteriously lost it down the back straight. But like you said, that is critical for Poteet and for Kerr, both battling for their own positions in the championship. They go back to the field with Siegel, whose efforts to lead a lap has ended up putting him 2 laps down somehow. So was it worth it? I'm not so sure. But as we sit here under caution on lap number 68, we'll be going green in just a few moments. We're almost at halfway. When we get back from break, we'll be at halfway. So we're going to go to a break for a couple seconds. Don't go anywhere. Come back, and we'll crown a champion.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia for the final round of the Highline Racing League, highpoint.com Premier Series. We're still under caution. We're going to get to 1 to go here. Caleb Morrissey is your leader, making up 10 spots from the start. Alan Kundman has gone from second to second. McKee in third has come from third, and Scott Wheeler Jr. has gone from sixth to fourth. At the moment, the main storyline, unfortunately, is not Caleb Morrissey going for 2 for 2 here at the end of the season. It is the championship battle between Kundman and Wheeler. At the moment, by my calculations, it's in Wheeler's hands, but who knows at this point?
Yeah, we find ourselves in a situation where unless Kundman actually wins this race, or if Scott Wheeler Jr. wrecks or falls back to the back of the field, it's Scott Wheeler Jr.'s championship. So Kundman's going to be pushing real hard off this restart to try to gain that lead and get a gap going for the last 70 laps of this race.
Now we're going to get 1 to go. So 1 extra lap for the drivers to, I guess, get their bearings, prepare for this second half of the race. And this is going to be the critical second half of the race. If we don't get any cautions, I imagine we'll go to the end green, but we will see who the best tire saver is. Is it still Caleb Morrissey? Has Alan Kundman learned something? Has Wheeler learned something? Who knows?
Yeah, Kundman's shown he's very good at preserving tires on the short tracks like this, USA Speedway. I'd expect him to be able to go to the end on these tires. I think a green flag pit stop for any of these contenders is essentially a death sentence, so I'd expect to go green to the end if they can make it on fuel.
Well, we will be going green. Who knows if it'll go to the end? Caleb Morrissey leads us to green for the second time. Scott Wheeler Jr., an excellent restart on the outside. Can he sweep around his championship rival here? No, he can't. He backs in line. Looks like he's going to go for the over-under, though, but the exit is not there. The under is not there, and everybody pretty much just stays in line where they were.
Yeah, Scott Wheeler Jr. looking a little bit thirsty here to try to jump in front of Kundman off the restart. And he has tapped the wall. Doesn't look too serious. He's still right on the back. And we have a caution in the back.
Let's see. Who was it? It was Ramirez and Potter. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Ryan Potter, he was having such a good night. He got sent to the back and unfortunately got together with Roberto Ramirez. I did not see what happened. We'll take a look at the replay. See if we can assign blame here. Ramirez on the high side, Potter on the bottom.
Yeah, it looks like Potter just came up a little bit on the exit of 3 there. Just an innocent little tap, but it turned Ramirez in front of him and sent Potter into the grass and straight into the wall, actually. He's probably going to have to come in and get that repaired.
And poor old Adam Bossy also got a nose full of Ramirez there. I think he might have more damage than Ramirez does, but Ryan Potter going to have big damage there. Hopefully he stays in here. He's going to come in. No fast repairs in this series, I must say. So if you get damage, you're going to have to fix it the old-fashioned way, and you're probably going to be struggling with it for the rest of the night. But Bossy comes in. Wheeler comes in. Looks like Poteet and Ramirez are coming in as well.
Yeah, some of the back markers, even the ones without damage, I imagine you come in, just get some newer tires. I mean, the extra 4 or 5 laps, newer tires can make a difference, especially if you're in the championship racing for that 10th position, 7th, 8th, 9th, etc.
I believe this is our 4th caution of the night. It's probably the amount we expected at a bull ring like Richmond. Close quarters, 18 drivers, a lot of them desperate for good results here at the end of the season. Wheeler Jr. in 3rd, Kundman 2nd. Now, one critical thing that we haven't mentioned, Wheeler and Morrissey are teammates, as well as Scott Zellner. They're in the same team. They're with 4 Horsemen Racing. So they might be working together here. They might be working, Caleb Morrissey and Scott Wheeler Jr. will be, to maybe get Wheeler a better restart here around the outside of Kundman, maybe move him forward. Didn't work the last time, but when you do have a teammate up front in the race and you're fighting for a championship, do you think they're going to be working together here to maybe give him a little bit of an advantage?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if your teammate's in the running to win that championship, I'd be hesitant to say that Morrissey should give up a win for it. and he doesn't have to as long as Kunman doesn't win. Wheeler is safe with the championship, but Wheeler's definitely going to be getting some aid from his teammates here to keep him up towards the front, regardless if that means kind of not blocking, but holding up a few of the midfield, and just kind of getting Wheeler into an advantageous position. It's definitely good to have some friendly faces up there with you.
So by my calculations, we knew Caleb Morrissey wasn't in championship contention, but I think if he wins this race and Alan Kundman finishes dead last in 18th, he might be able to steal second, but that's very, very unlikely. And I don't think Kundman will be finishing dead last because he's got Andrew Siegel down there a lap down, so it would take an absolute disaster for Caleb Morrissey to steal second in the championship, but no disasters here on the restart. An excellent restart for Caleb Morrissey, and who's he dragging with him? He's dragging his teammate with him. Scott Wheeler Jr. up to second. He's clear of Kundman.
That's a really big move right there for Wheeler, because now if he's able to stay in front of Kundman for these next few laps and defend, really all he's got to do is just stay in front of him the rest of the race. That guarantees that Kundman can't get to the front, and I mean, Morrissey might be able to run away with this, because if Morrissey grabs the win tonight, Scott Wheeler Jr. is going to win that championship.
Yeah, and just the fact that he's clear of him, even though Kundman has that extra bonus point, they're going to tie in the points, or they're going to tie on points in this race, and Wheeler's still going to have that 3-point advantage, so he'll win the championship easy. Everybody through the back of the field. Looks like we made it through lap 1 okay. We're going to make it through lap 2 okay. Brad Kress getting a little bit out of shape, but other than that, we're all good.
And yeah, if you're Scott Wheeler Jr., I think you can start to take a little bit easy on these tires and go for that long run pace, because that is your teammate in front of you. So I guess, I mean, as much as I think Scott Wheeler Jr. maybe wants a third win on the season, that championship is oh so more important. And as long as he's staying in front of Kundman, he can kind of lean back a little bit on him, save his tires, make Kundman really work for it, have to go to the outside if he really wants to pass at this stage of the race.
James McKee to the inside of Green. Green blocks all the way down to the bottom. He severely compromised his exit there. I don't think that block was the smartest move, and he's going to fall up to the high line, and James McKee is going to be up to 4th.
It looks like Zellner is going to follow McKee here. Yeah, like you said, Green, a little bit of an ambitious move there to try to keep the track position. Might have shot himself in the foot a little bit. He's hanging on to it for now, but it looks like, yeah, Zellner really wants that position from him.
And this is the battle for 4th in the championship. Green, Zellner, and McKee. Yeah, Green gets stuck in the wall just a little bit, falls back. He's tied with Kendall Kerr on points. He's 1 point behind Zellner. He falls back. So at the moment, it looks like Scott Zellner will be the driver to get that 4th position in the championship, but it's far from over. As up front, look who's going for the lead on Morrissey. Scott Wheeler Jr. takes the lead and leads his first lap of the race.
And we've got Alan Kundman coming in right below Morrissey as well. That door kind of being left open from Wheeler making the pass. So we'll see if Kundman can get up into 2nd position here, making a huge lunge. And it looks like he's probably going to have it on the exit of 4 here.
Oh, but he overcooks it. He overcooks it down the front straight. He had that move made, but he just got a little bit too greedy on the throttle. Falls back to 3rd. Morrissey's not going away. He's still going to fight his teammate for this win. Wow.
And yeah, Kundman's really got to put the pedal down here, because, I mean, otherwise he's going to watch his championship race off to the distance, because he has to win this race tonight. And his championship rival, Scott Wheeler Jr., finds himself up in 1st. That's going to be a really tough cookie to crack if Kundman's able to get past Morrissey here and try to race Scott Wheeler Jr. for the win tonight.
And remember, the reason Morrissey was 11th in qualifying is he didn't really seem to have the short run pace. So that might be what we're seeing here, as he is under attack from Kundman still. Or maybe that's why Wheeler has the long run pace. But as we get later into the stint, I wonder if Morrissey will maybe be able to fight back in about 30-40 laps time.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it before that string of cautions came out before the halfway mark. Of course, he was on a little bit newer tires, but we saw that he did have that pace later into the stint. So, I mean, if we stay green for a while here, I'd imagine to see him come back and have a real shot at winning this race tonight.
Zellner trying to get to the outside to McKee is not successful, unfortunately. And through the rest of the field, all the way back to 18th, Andrew Siegel. Seems like we're just in a little bit of a holding pattern for the moment. It's single file, 18 rows deep.
Kerr just giving Malarkey there a little bit of a love tap, nothing serious, just letting him know he's there, looking for that position. As Kerr really wants to gain that position, get himself up in that championship standings for potentially 4th tonight.
Ramirez and Bossy. The Bossy Posse is in the chat this evening. I saw a couple of them, but he's not going to be able to get by Ramirez just yet. Ramirez hangs on to that 14th place. Both of these drivers look to be a lot quicker in practice and qualifying, but one unfortunate circumstance led to another and another and another, and they're just working to move their way forward in the field. Brad Crest looks like he's getting a little bit out of shape. He's got Toby Wedgwood, and speaking of unfortunate, Ryan Potter is there as well. There's battles all through the field, but unfortunately, nobody seems to be able to make anything of them.
Toby Wedgwood is getting some contact right there from Potter. It looks like he's able to save it. Tyler Snyder's going to go on through too, as well as Dylan Petit. It looks like Wedgwood's struggling a bit. Just a lap or two ago, he was slapping the outside wall as well.
Yeah, and that was net code between Wedgwood and Potter. I didn't see them make actual contact, but it looks like Wedgwood is just going to let everybody by here. Oh, he gets down in front of Poteet, so he's not going to let everybody by. He's going to let everybody by up to about 14th or 12th or wherever he is. There's too many cars on this track right now. Poteet to the inside of Ramirez now. The damaged versus the mostly undamaged, other than the side of that car. Poteet's going to be clear of him, and Bossy might follow him through.
Petit's wiggling all this way and that. It looks like his car's a little bit loose on the corner exit. Looks like he's maybe struggling a bit to keep the power in it on that exit. As Ramirez is able to hold that position more or less from the outside line. We'll see if Petit here can keep those tires under him.
Up front, Kundman is all over the back of Morrissey. He knows this position is critical, but he's not able to do anything with it. It's a big wiggle on exit. And he knows that James McKee's back there as well, so he can't be making too many mistakes, because with McKee, with Zellner, with the whole gang right there, one mistake is going to lose you potentially multiple positions. Here comes Kundman down to the bottom. Does he scare Morrissey up a little bit? I think he does, but doesn't matter. That high line, that exit, way superior for Morrissey, and nothing changes.
I'd love to say if you're in Kundman's position, your play is to just remain calm. You've got almost 50 laps left. Just be patient. Make the race go to the last 10 laps before you grab it. But when you're actually in the driver's seat in this situation, you're battling for a championship. You have to win the race. That is way easier said than done. I mean, I would not want to be telling Kundman over the radio right now, like, hey, bud, chill for a few laps, like, save the battle. No, he wants this thing real bad. You can tell as he's struggling to get the car out of the corners.
Wheeler's struggling to get the car out of the corners. And on exit, Morrissey's going to close up to the back of him again. But I do wonder, is Morrissey using a little bit of constraint and staying back there, not trying to take his teammate out? I think he could have made the move. He could have made the dive there, but he doesn't. He's on defense mode right now with Kundman. And as I say that, he's going to try the bottom into turn one. But it's not going to work. I think he went a little bit too low there, and now he's put himself at risk. Kundman on the outside. He's going to have the optimal line. He's going to have the optimal run. And Kundman is going to be clear of Caleb Morrissey eventually on that high line.
It looks like Morrissey getting a run out of 4 there, keeping that low line side by side with Kundman. And
Kundman hits Wheeler. Kundman dumps his championship rival. Not intentional, but he just sent it in way too deep in there. And it's what we didn't want to happen, but the championship contenders come together. The 8 into the 97. Scott Wheeler Jr. comes off worse, but you got to think Kundman's going to have damage as well.
Yeah, that said, Wheeler took a pretty big hit from, I think it was McKee there as he was spinning around, so he might have gotten away with just some rear-end damage, but that side hit is really going to hurt his chances here. I mean, I got to imagine that's going to be a pretty sizable repair to that front quarter panel there.
Here's the replay. Kundman on the high side, Wheeler also up there, and bang! Right into the back of him. It looks to me like they just met in the middle there. Wheeler trying to back up the entry, Kunman trying to go as deep as possible, and unfortunately, in the most spectacular possible manner, they got into each other.
Yeah, it looks like Wheeler might have gotten on the brakes, lifted off maybe a tad early, or at least Kunman thought he was a tad early, because it looks like Kunman got on the brakes as soon as he saw Wheeler lifting off, but it wasn't enough, got right into that corner panel. I mean, if that was a straight-on hit, they probably would have been fine, but he caught him at a weird angle and pit maneuvered him. Very, very unfortunate for Scott Wheeler Jr., and that's going to be incredibly hard for him to come back from this race.
High drama in the season finale. It doesn't get more dramatic than that. Right now, Kunman is 4th, and Scott Wheeler Jr. is 10th. So he's not that far back. They're not that far different. Everybody comes down pit road. No surprise there. Caleb Morrissey leads us off pit road. Just kidding. Justin Malarkey stayed out. Dylan Poteet stayed out as well. But Caleb Morrissey leads us off pit road. Then Zellner, then Kunman, Kerr, Green, Potter, Kress, Snyder, Ramirez, Bossy, Siegel, Robinson, Morash, McKee, Wheeler. That's how many people are between Kunman and Wheeler now.
It looks like Wheeler is going to get back out of the pits on the lead lap here. It doesn't look like all of that damage was repaired on that car, but I think he did what he could while staying on the lead lap. I mean, if he goes a lap down, it's over. Yeah, he's coming back into the pits. Changed his mind, it looks like.
So basically, Scott Wheeler Jr.'s only hopes, what are his hopes here? Does he hope that we get a late caution and he can stay out and hold everybody back? Does he hope that Kunman gets into trouble as well? What's he going to be thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, he needs more cautions to get time to repair his car. I mean, he didn't get a full repair done. What you see a lot in NASCAR and ARCA series like that is on a short track like this, you usually can't repair the whole car under one caution lap. So you go in, you repair what you can, and you go out with a little bit of damage on your car still, and you come in later to repair that, because it's way more important to stay on the lead lap than it is to repair that damage. So he's going to be hanging out at the back of the field here for a bit with that damage he's got. So an extra caution or two in the near future would definitely benefit him, give him an excuse to go in and clean up that car a little bit, and hopefully make his way back.
I got to interrupt you here. That's Alan Kunman, who just came through pit road again. What? Alan Kunman came down pit road again to get behind Scott Wheeler Jr., and suddenly Wheeler's got the advantage again.
I'm curious to know what went on there. If Kunman was had some damage he had to go in and repair, if this is just a gentlemanly maneuver to keep the championship battle alive between him and Wheeler.
Because he didn't get a penalty, or at least I don't think he got a penalty. I didn't see the admins give him a penalty, but then again, I don't know if that would show up in the chat logs. But if he did get a penalty, I might say I disagree with that, because it looked like a racing incident to me. But one way or another, suddenly it's back in Scott Wheeler Jr.'s direction. The championship is back in his hands, and the cloth has been drawn over our eyes by Justin Malarkey. He's the only driver who didn't pit. He's on 40-lap younger tires, and he's restarting on pole. So I think everything's about to kick off again. If you thought this race's drama was over, you're probably wrong, because Justin Malarkey on 40-lap older tires than the rest of the field is going to lead us to green here for the 6th time at Richmond.
Yeah, we're going to probably see Morrissey here just blast by him on the outside line, I gotta imagine. But Malarkey kind of betting on the fact that cautions breed cautions, hoping that there's another one comes out, and Morrissey's real loose off of 2 there, struggling on those newer tires.
Well saved by Morrissey, I must say. I thought he was sending it right into the outside wall, and incredibly, Justin Malarkey hangs onto the lead, and the caution is back out. Cody Robinson's around. I saw one of the black cars, I believe that was Dylan Poteet, into the grass as well. We didn't make it very far, and this is good for Justin Malarkey, I guess, because he's getting more laps in the lead. But let's see what happened to Robinson.
Yeah, it looks like Robinson just losing the car under him in turn 3 there. Gets collected by the number 1 and the number 5, Dylan Petit and Andrew Siegel. Siegel has had such bad luck in the few races this year, through no fault of his own, getting some more damage from this incident.
Dylan Poteet, unfortunate for him, got a big bite out of that as well. And Toby Wedgwood made his way through the middle. And even though we've seen a bunch of these accidents so far tonight, every car is still on the lead lap. We'll see if that is still the case after everybody comes in to get this damage fixed. There's Jeff Morash making his way through, and you saw Wheeler and Kundman as well making their way through the scene of the accident as well, so they're still on track. Some of them are more damaged than others, but they're still both out there, and they're still both intact.
Yeah, and importantly, they're right next to each other on track. This championship is still anyone's battle for them. I mean, as we were talking about, Kundman has to finish at least 3 positions ahead of Wheeler, barring bonus points, or win this race. So with him starting right behind Kundman now for the last 32 or so laps of this race, he's gonna really have to work hard to gain more positions than Wheeler off this restart.
Well, right now, I think that the bonus points have equaled themselves out, because I imagine they both got a 4x for that coming together, so they're not going to get the bonus point for exiting this race with 0 incident points. They both led laps, so they're both going to get 1 point for that. I believe Caleb Morrissey's led the most laps, potentially, so neither of them are going to get the most laps led extra point. So the bonus points basically don't matter for them two, and it's going to come down to the positions, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So Kundman's really got to blast off the line here. I mean, 30 sounds like a lot of laps, but it really isn't when you've got to gain 3 or 4 more positions than the person you're battling. Because, I mean, if Wheeler gets up to 7th or 8th, Kundman's got to get all the way up to the 3rd or 4th to win this thing, to win this championship.
Justin Malarkey will be your leader once again. I'm still amazed that he managed to hold on to the lead on that restart, but probably helped by the mistake that Caleb Morrissey made. He's still desperate for his first win. It seems every week we mention that Justin Malarkey hasn't won a race. He hasn't, but maybe this is the week that that'll finally change. Scott Zellner in 3rd as well. To comment on him, he's had 2 wins this season. He could upstage our 2 championship contenders and be the first driver to win 3 of them this season. So who knows? Anything can happen. And we're going to go green once more. The green car is in the lead. Can Malarkey get as good of a restart as he did last time? This time, we're green once again at Richmond.
Looks like Malarkey pretty good off the line. Should be able to hold Morrissey here for at least a few corners. But as we mentioned, really... Oh, someone's in the wall right there. Is that Kendall Kerr? No caution coming out for that. But his car is heavily, heavily damaged here as he just loses it going into 1 there.
Yeah, I think Kerr might have done what Morrissey did and couldn't quite save it, but Morrissey takes the lead back. Zellner's coming with him, and unfortunately, this is going to be the fall of Malarkey. He's going to get swallowed up here. Potter around the outside easily. Ryan Potter up to 3rd. As I say that, I just realized this man's made the comeback of the century. Started on pole, fell all the way back. Now he's got a shot again.
Yeah, especially with Kundman and Scott Wheeler Jr. way back in there in the field. Ryan Potter does have a real shot to win this race if he can keep up with Zellner and Morrissey there.
But Wheeler is stuck behind Malarkey. That bottom line plugged up by the 73. He's going to move out of the way. He's going to give him a wide berth. He's going to be the Malarkey sandwich in the middle. Cress on the outside, Wheeler on the inside, and Toby Wedgwood has been spun. And there's the caution again.
Yeah, just like we've been seeing with a few of these other cautions, it looks like he mostly lost it. There was a little bit of contact between him and Petit, but I don't think that contact spun him around. It looks like he just kind of lost the rear end of the car going into the corner there. Corners 1 and 3, definitely a bit slip and slide on this track tonight.
Whee! Goes around, and Jeff Morash, another lucky escape up on the high line. But yeah, I didn't see any contact there, so Toby Wedgwood goes from the back to the back. He's still back there, but didn't get any damage from it, at least, if there's any solace to be taken. Drivers who did take damage, Poteet's coming in to get more of it fixed, Siegel, and of course Kendall Kerr absolutely destroyed there from that contact with the wall. We never saw a replay of that, so if we could go back there, see what happened to Kendall Kerr, that would be nice, because that thing is absolutely destroyed. Here it is.
Yeah, just snapped on him, sent him right up into the wall there.
Yeah, no space to save it, but he will come down to the pits, get more of it fixed, and He'll still be out on track. He'll still be in the fight for that 5th, but oh my goodness, the overcorrection there, that really didn't work for him.
That could have been a hardware failure too, with the way he shot up the track like that, because that doesn't look like any sort of slip and slidey from the tires. I mean, he really shot up into that wall very forcefully.
It looked to me like just a big overcorrection. He just got barely loose, and then he said, yeet, turned the wheel all the way to the right, and that didn't work. I think he might have got spooked a little bit, but he's in the pits. A lot of repairs on the front of that car. That thing is going to be stuck in there. I think he might have some required repairs, but he is out. So if he did have any required repairs, they were quick. So he comes out 17th, shotgun on the field, as we like to say, ahead of only Cody Robinson, who is still stuck in the pits after 5 minutes.
And yeah, that's really going to kill the chances of Kerr getting 4th place in the championship. I mean, he was only a point behind Zellner coming into this race, battling for 4th, and now finding himself at the rear of the field unless something extraordinarily crazy happens in these last 25 laps. It looks like he's going to be ending up in 7th or 8th tonight. And you were saying yeet earlier. Looks like Scott Wheeler Jr. yeeted his car up about 4 or 5 positions in that run. Now sitting a few above Kundman in 7th place with that damaged car.
Yeah, that's really interesting because Wheeler took the brunt of the impact when he came together with Kundman and came together with the wall and came together with McKee. But he's ahead of him by 4 positions, and he looked to be the far stronger one in that restart, which is very, very strange. But I guess it shows the caliber of driver that Scott Wheeler Jr. is.
Yeah, I think we're going to need to buckle up for these last 25 laps here. Kundman's really going to have to send his car to try to win this championship. Because not only does he have to pass Wheeler, he has to get 3 or 4 positions past Wheeler. So at this current state, Kundman has to go from 11th to 3rd to wrap up this championship. And that is a tall, tall ask with 24 laps remaining. If it goes green, that's virtually impossible. So he's got to hope for a wreck up at the front.
Well, unfortunately for him, the likelihood of a wreck has gone down as Malarkey has come in to put fresh tires on that thing. He won't be plugging up the field. He'll restart 14th with now 13-lap younger tires than everybody else. But Caleb Morrissey, the dominant driver of tonight, I'd say, and Scott Zellner with him. Ryan Potter looking to make a comeback, and where the heck in the world did Tyler Snyder come from? Who knows? But we're back green at Richmond, and Caleb Morrissey catches them all napping.
Yeah, magnificent start there. Already pulling out 4 or 5 car lengths by turn 1. I mean, that's just going to make his job all the easier going into turn 1, 2, 3, and 4. Doesn't really have to focus on having a good line while defending. Can kind of just drive the optimal lapping line and get some good lap times here and build a gap.
Scott Wheeler Jr. now approaching this little gaggle. Ramirez, Snyder, Green. He's going to stick to the bottom line. He's not going to go up with Green. Ramirez and Snyder, they've been a little bit slower than some of the other drivers up front so far tonight, but they're clearly holding Wheeler back quite effectively. And Kundman, we talked about him not being able to make moves on the earlier stint. He has made a few moves up to 9th place now. He's only 2 spots behind Wheeler, so if Wheeler stays plugged down there on the bottom and Kundman can find a way to the outside, he might be in good shape here.
Yeah, and it looks like Wheeler struggling a little bit to find a way past Ramirez and Green here. I mean, they're taking up both the low line and the mid line there. And I mean, so Wheeler's a little bit trapped, and he sees Kundman in his rearview mirror coming right at him.
Yeah, shades of the Charlotte Roval when Chase Elliott saw when Kevin Harvick saw Chase Elliott in his mirrors, sent it off into the wall. Hopefully Wheeler doesn't do that with his rival in the back. He's going to be having war flashbacks to the last time Kundman was behind him, but it looks like he's going to be able to get clear of Green here, potentially. Down to the bottom he goes. Green goes about 4 lanes too high, and Wheeler will be clear of him. And now McKee is going to be on the attack to Green. Whoa!
We've got Green
oh dear. There's the caution.
We've got everyone around in turn 4 there.
I think that was caused by, once again, Scott Wheeler Jr. backing up the entry to, I guess, save some tire life. But Green met him, McKee met him, Kundman met him, and Malarkey, oof, he tried to make it through, but unfortunately for him, there was a wall-shaped wall there, and he's out of the race. He just disconnected.
It looks like Kundman was able to get through there relatively damage-free, took a little bit of a scraping, but I don't think anything that would end his hopes here tonight. Just looks like he got into the back of the number 9 car as the 9 was slowing down for that incident.
Yeah, Wheeler led them, and then it was Green, and we'll see it in slow motion here. Was that too late of a move from Wheeler to send it down there? Is that what checked them all up?
Yeah, I think so. I think Wheeler was, I wouldn't say that he wasn't aware of what was going on behind him, but I think he came down mid-corner, didn't really know Green was going for that move. Green didn't have much of a peak to begin with, so I struggle to say it's anyone in particular's fault. It looks like a racing incident to me.
With a championship on the line, it's hard to really blame anybody for some of the things that happened. Justin Malarkey, he's going to be blaming the wall for being there, for taking him out. But other than that, we've still got 16 cars on track. So with the amount of incidents we've had tonight, remarkably low attrition. We've got a remarkable amount of cars on the lead lap. Cody Robinson's still stuck in the pits, but he's holding it out. And hopefully he'll be back out here in the next lap, because if he isn't, he's not going to be able to pass Malarkey for that extra point, because he's 15 laps behind him. So hopefully his crew can repair that thing as quick as can be. And speaking of as quick as can be, Caleb Morrissey is still your leader. I thought Ryan Potter might have a shot at him on the same lane, but no, Morrissey just kept him, caught him all napping last restart.
Yeah, he's been really, really strong in the second half of the race. I mean, dominant, pretty much leading most of the race. No one's really threatened him, especially now with Kundman and Wheeler falling back a little bit to 7th and 8th. And as we were talking earlier, Kundman was probably hoping for another caution to get from 11th up a little bit. He now finds himself in 7th, right behind Scott Wheeler Jr., making this a heck of a lot easier for him to attempt to get by Wheeler to take this championship. But, I mean, again, really tough ask with Wheeler in 6th. Kundman now has to get up to 2nd or 3rd place to secure this thing. And we know Potter's thirsty for this win. He's not going to just let that happen.
And unfortunately, Wheeler is going to restart on that high line, and Kundman's going to restart on the bottom. And we know how those lines have worked over the course of the race tonight, but anything can happen. Anything has happened so far tonight, and more probably will. But it's the 6 and the 4. It's Morrissey and Zellner for yet another restart to the line. It's going to be another drive, incredible drive by Caleb Morrissey. He's clear of Kundman. He's clear of Zellner. He's clear of Potter. He's clear of everybody.
Yeah, we've seen him 3 or 4 times now just rocket off the line, catching everyone sleeping. It looks like we have a bunch of contact right back in the midfield. There's a bunch of cars that are jostling around to grab positions 3, 4, and 5. Whole gaggle of confusion going on right there.
Wheeler and Potter had a little bit of argy-bargy down the back straight, but they got away with it. Wheeler trying to get around Potter. Kundman still stuck behind Ramirez, so it is advantage Wheeler for the moment, but he's looking like he's getting desperate. He swerves down to the bottom over the nose of Ramirez. That was a little bit more than a Pruitt fade from him. Wedgwood gets to the inside of Kundman. They're all over the place, but nothing's changed between Wheeler and Kundman, really. Still advantage Wheeler.
Yeah, and it's desperation time for both of those drivers. Kundman sticks it in below Ramirez, and he's getting real loose off the corner there off of 2, but is able to save it. Not quite able to get that pass done on Ramirez for the time being. But as we said, it's emergency time for Kundman right now. He has to send that car. He has to get by Ramirez right now.
Desperate is a good word for that exit. He was full throttle there, I think. I don't think the man lifted, and he's going to try it again, but that looseness, it's not helping him because Ramirez is staying in front of him. He's going to send it down there. There was just about a car-sized gap there. Can Kundman use the bottom here to finally get by Ramirez? He's struggling. He's been a master of the high line, but the bottom line not working as well for him.
I think it would be prudent for Kunman to repaint his car like a Fujiwara Tofu, definitely drifting his car around all these corners, like you said, almost full throttle, just trying to send this thing, fighting the car. I mean, he's got nothing to lose at this point. He's not going to lose second in the championship, so nothing to lose going for this win. And it looks like he's able to nick that position off of Ramirez here and keep that position, making it all that much easier for him to try to get up towards the front in these last 8 or so laps of the race.
He's gonna be, there he goes, clear Ramirez. Ramirez bobbles. Now he's got right to the back of Wheeler. Where have we seen this before? Wheeler goes down to the bottom to avoid more trouble, but Kunman sees the guy he needs to pass. He needs to pass him, he needs to pass Potter, and he needs to pass Snyder, and then he might be championship eligible. We don't even really know at this point. But Wheeler getting really held up by Tyler Snyder. Tyler Snyder is desperate for a top 3 here. I don't believe Tyler Snyder has finished in the top 3 all season. He's got 2 top 5s, but he's running for his best result ever. Ryan Potter gets down to the bottom, and Kunman to the outside of Scott Wheeler Jr. in turn 3.
And if you're Kunman here, you do not have enough laps left at this point to pass up to the front. You just got to put pressure on Scott Wheeler Jr., make him make a mistake. I wouldn't get surprised if they get a little touchy-feely, a little argy-bargy in these last few laps, because really that's Kunman's last chance to just try to force Wheeler into a mistake here, try to force him to get loose off a corner, race him close, race him hard. And that's really his only chance, and he's seeing that fade away as we go lap by lap with only 6 to go now.
Here he go. I thought he was going to send it through the middle, but Alan Kunman stays back. He's got to find a way through Wheeler here. Only 5 laps to go. Not many miles to go. Wheeler might be clear of Snyder here. They're going to be stuck side by side. Does Kunman send it? No, he does not. He thinks it's still a little bit too early. Snyder basically goes away. He runs up to the high line, and now it's still Wheeler and Kunman stuck together here for 4th place. Into turn 1, Kunman on the outside, Wheeler on the inside. It's what we've seen all night. Wheeler's getting desperate. He almost gets into the back of Potter. Kunman down to the bottom. Wheeler blocks, but they're still going to be the same way they were before. 3 wide. Kunman through the middle. Potter goes away, and now it's the fight for 3rd. But this is terrible for Kunman, because if he beats Wheeler here, doesn't matter. It's only 1 position. Wheeler still wins.
Exactly. I think his best hope there was while Wheeler had a couple cars right in front of his front bumper to force Wheeler into that mistake there, maybe force him to correct a little bit on a corner entry. And now that they're only battling each other, I think that period of forcing a mistake is over. Kunman might be able to place in front of Wheeler this race, but that's not going to get him this championship.
Wheeler still trying to hang tough on the bottom, but it's not going to work. Kunman is clear of him. But I think Wheeler knows the championship scenario. You can only hope he does. He doesn't need to beat Kunman here. As long as he holds back the 3 behind him, he will win this championship. 2 to go at the line. Caleb Morrissey is your leader. Just kidding, it's the white flag. We'll look away from the championship battle for the moment. Caleb Morrissey is about 6/10 ahead of Scott Zellner. It's going to be fairly straightforward up front through the final corner. Caleb Morrissey goes 2 for 2. Bristol and Richmond, dirt and asphalt. He wins. Zellner second, and they're wrecking across the line. Wheeler spins. Kunman spins. It doesn't matter. The positions didn't change. Kunman finishes ahead of Wheeler, but Wheeler wins the championship.
What a finish for that race there. We have Morrissey picking up a 2nd win in a row, Scott Zellner picking up a P2, and of course a little bit of a tussle across the line between Kunman and Wheeler jostling for that championship there. What a race we saw tonight. That was, I was out of breath from start to finish.
Yeah, I almost lost my voice coming to the line there, but that was a finish for the ages, even though ultimately it was all for nothing. Nothing changed. And Scott Wheeler Jr., he's behind in the race. He lost the battle, but he won the war. And here's the sportsmanship. The 2 rivals, they knew it was a hard-fought race, but something tells me there's no hard feelings. And Scott Wheeler Jr., a 5th place, not going to feel that great, but a championship is going to feel pretty darn great. Are they going to do donuts in tandem here? Please do. Give us a good image for the Twitter feed. They're just gonna park it on track. But hopefully we'll get both of them for an interview. I think I can guarantee we will, and we'll also get Caleb Morrissey and the whole rest of the gang. But let's take a look at the results if we've got them. Like I said, Caleb Morrissey won this dang thing. We didn't talk about him a whole lot, but he won. Zellner finished second. Roberto Ramirez out of nowhere in that carnage at the finish finished third. Brad Kress was fourth. Kunman beat Wheeler, but Wheeler won the championship. Potter from first to seventh, and then Bossy Poteet Green ends the top 10.
Picking up the latter half of the field, we have Jeff Marish making his way to P11. Not that much movement from him or the guy finishing behind him, Tyler Snyder, who found himself up in that top 5 for a while, but fell back to 12th at the end. James McKee, unfortunately, going from 3rd to 13th, followed by Andrew Siegel, Toby Wedgwood, Kendall Kerr going from 9th to 16th, Justin Malarkey going from 8th to 17th, and Cody Robinson, who found himself 34 laps down at the end. An unfortunate night for those last few drivers.
Well, as we wait for our championship contenders, our champion, Scott Wheeler Jr., our vice champion, Alan Kunman, to come in. First, we're going to talk to the winner of the race. Caleb Morrissey is ready for an interview. We'll hopefully bring him in here, the driver of the number 6. Well, Caleb, the spotlight wasn't on you tonight. It was on our championship contenders, but you showed him up. You won the race. Did you expect that to happen from 11th on the grid?
Not entirely. It was definitely a good result. I was definitely happy with that. I guess we're just waiting on the official results. Do you guys know yet?
It's not official, but by every calculation we have, it's going to be Wheeler winning the championship. So your teammate, as far as we know, he's going to be the champion by, I think, 2 points.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So coming into this, we knew you guys were teammates. You guys were both up front for a portion of the race. I remember on a couple restarts, you were leading with Scott right behind you. Were you guys trying to work together a little bit to get him in the optimal position?
Yes and no. I didn't really want to give him the lead spot because I was afraid Alan was also going to get by me. But yeah, kind of. Like, I definitely wanted to make sure that he got the bonus point for the lap led. And then, unfortunately, that whole incident happened with Alan. But I'm really glad both of them recovered. That was really a fun race. That was a lot better than what I was expecting out of Richmond.
Yeah, and let's get off of those two guys. Who cares about them? Let's talk about you for a little bit. This is 2 wins in a row for you. One at the dirt track, which was kind of expected as the dirt master of the league, and then you won at Richmond. I mean, does this give you confidence for next season? You finished the season on a high, winning the last 2 races. How are you feeling once the next season comes, whatever that is?
Yeah, that's obviously a huge high and a huge relief for me. I've been in this league at least 3 or 4 seasons now, and this is my first pavement win. So yeah, that's a good monkey to get off my back and prove that I can do it outside of the dirt. Obviously, this is such a great result. Tons of momentum. I would love if you guys return next season into the booth. I hope that's something we look into. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much.
The driver of the number 6, Caleb Morrissey, the star of tonight. But we've got a couple more. I don't want to go to the champion just yet. I do want to talk to the drivers who finished in the top 3. Next up, we've got the other Scott Zellner, the driver of the number 4, is with Sarah.
Well, Scott, during the beginning and middle of that race, you found yourself hanging out between P5, P10, moving around a little bit. And near the end of the race, when all that chaos ensued that put Kunman and Wheeler towards the back, you found yourself in P2. Great drive from you tonight, I got to say. And, I mean, it's got to be pretty exciting to get back up into P2, right? Tack on another top 5?
Yeah, it was an awesome way to end the season, but totally hats off to my teammate Scott Wheeler for winning that championship. The season was really good for our team, and we're hoping we'll be back next year stronger than ever.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, what was going through all of your guys' minds during the middle of that race when it was kind of everyone's game? You were sitting behind that battle they were having. What was the thought process you and your teammates were kind of going through regarding this race?
We were trying to give Scott the best chance that he had to win this championship. We were trying to position ourselves between him and Alan, and obviously Alan's so good at these short tracks, so it was really hard to get both of us up there. Luckily, Caleb was able to hold them off when they were in that big pack before Alan got into the back of Wheeler. But yeah, I was just sitting behind there. I was just thinking, let's keep it green. This is some awesome racing. Unfortunately, we had some contact, but that's short track racing.
Yeah, definitely a little bumping and running here. Like you said, that's short track racing, but you found yourself on the better end of that, able to get through all that chaos in the last 50 laps and find yourself up in P2. So congratulations again, Zellner, for that P2 finish and a good championship points finish, as I believe that lets you secure P4.
Yeah, that stings a little bit with 2 races missed, still coming up in 4th place. So next year I'll have to make sure I make every show, and I'll be battling up there with those guys.
Yeah, I definitely think if you were missing 2 races, I definitely think you've got a good chance at it next year up there with the likes of Wheeler Jr. and Kunman. But again, congratulations on the P2 tonight.
Thanks. Before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to everybody at Four Horsemen. Caleb, congrats on the win, bud. Scott Wheeler, congrats on the championship. Toby, thanks for putting everything on. Thanks for you guys up in the booth at STN. Love watching the races back. Yeah, shout out to my family back home watching, and we'll see you next season.
That was 2nd place finisher Scott Zellner. And next up, I'm not going to get to the 3rd place finisher just yet, or I guess we are. Here's Roberto Ramirez. We'll get to Zellner next, but Roberto, this was your first race back since the first race of the season. I guess my first question is, where have you been?
Well, I'm a college student, so things happen. No homework this week, Thanksgiving. So, I figured I might as well show up, and I'm glad I did. Pretty good run.
Yeah, that's as good of an excuse as any. So it was your first race back since Daytona. How are you feeling about Richmond? You qualified pretty well, I'd say, but how are you feeling about this track?
Honestly, I was not too happy to see that Richmond got picked because I'm usually really terrible here. But, I actually just practiced really well, spun out a lot, figured out what not to do. I qualified really well. I think we had a lot of speed. I just got dumped mid-race, and, it was hard to recover from that. But I think it was overall, honestly, a very surprising result. I hate Richmond. I am usually not very good here, but really was dialed in tonight. I also want to apologize to Tyler Snyder. Did not mean to run him over in the last corner. So cheers to that. But I mean, I was really not too excited about the track choice, but made the most of it, and I felt really good tonight.
Well, I've got an exciting statistic for you. You only made 2 starts this season, so we're not talking championship, but do you know what you lead the entire league in stats-wise?
Probably average start.
Average start. Roberto Ramirez, 2.5. Next up, Alan Kunman, 5.18. So you beat the guy who finished 2nd in the championship.
Yeah.
So you got to take something good out of it.
I got a story to share here. This is really embarrassing. I got the poll at Vegas, and I have my Discord talking button. It's the same thing as what used to be my exit car button. So on the grid, we start rolling off. I start talking to my teammates, and I go straight to the pits. So I got the pole. I did not even crack the top 10 that race. So, yeah, that was probably the dumbest thing on wheels that you could do, but glad to make up for it tonight with a good result.
Yeah, certainly finished it on a high. So we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you next season for a couple more races. But before we kick you out of here, you have anyone you want to thank?
I just want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Always enjoy your guys' stuff. I want to thank Kendall, Toby, everyone that puts on the league. And I want to just congratulate the league on a good season. Wish I could have been more of a part of it, but congratulations to, did Scott win the championship? That's a silly question.
Points.
Congratulations to Scott for winning the championship.
That was your highest average starter, Roberto Ramirez. Print that out, stick it on a plaque, stick it in your room. But we got one more driver. He crossed the line backwards. He finished 6th, but he won the championship. So who cares about any of that? Once director Zach Johnson drags him into the booth. Scott Wheeler Jr., you're the champion. How does that feel?
I can't even put into words what it feels like. I've got to credit my teammates a couple times in that race. You know, they were talking me through it. They were providing the support that I needed for it. And after that incident with Alan, which was, you know, just a racing deal, they were, you know, keep your head in it, plenty of time, and help calm me down. And now we're here. So feels good, I guess. It's crazy, but it's awesome.
Well, when we came into this race, we knew that Kundman was arguably the one to beat on the short tracks with those wins earlier in the season. Were you feeling a little bit intimidated coming into tonight with him and his prowess on these short tracks, or did you think you've been up front all season, you can still hold it up here?
No, I was definitely a little intimidated. I knew that he was the guy all season for those short tracks and flat tracks. I could get up there in the top 5 when we were there throughout the season, but he was always one with speed. So thankfully, Richmond is one of my better short tracks. If it was Martinsville, I think it might have been a different outcome. That's like his domain. I don't know how he drives it differently, honestly, but yeah, I put down some good laps in practice. I felt really good about it. Saw that he was right there. I think at one point in practice, we were right next to each other in time. So I knew it'd be a tight race. It just, you know, it was about keeping the head down and trying to just do what I could out there.
And then coming through the final corner on that final lap, the calamity that ensued, were you just throwing everything at the wall, hoping for one last ditch effort?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to wreck, but there wasn't a whole lot that really we could do. My car was plowing tight anyway after that first incident, and I was driving the wheels off it, so my tires are worn. And I think I looked in the mirror more than I looked out my windshield for the last 10 laps, just trying to see where he was. So I was really driving it hard, and we made the contact. I wasn't even looking anywhere but the scoreboard after when we were in the grass, just trying to straighten it out. So I can't really explain it. It's awesome though.
Well, you are the champion of this season. Alan Kundman kept you honest through the whole year. I guess just to close this out, how was it fighting for the championship with Alan specifically and just in general?
Fighting with Alan was awesome, and like I said, that incident, that first incident between us this race is purely racing. He was driving hard, and I don't blame him one bit for it. But we've raced against each other in a couple other leagues before, and we've always raced pretty clean. And he's always been really good wherever we've gone. He's had some poor luck, but overall, just racing with this group of guys this season was amazing. Everybody did a great job. We had some really good races. Maybe not the most entertaining to watch sometimes, but from a driver standpoint, to the amount of battles that we had there, and we really didn't have any kind of drama going on throughout the season, which is good too. We were all able to do our thing and enjoy what we're doing.
Well, I must respectfully disagree about not the most entertaining to watch, because in my opinion, you guys seem to put on a show every week at even some of the tracks that don't always race so well, and you pull it off somehow, and you took home the championship. Congratulations. Anything else you want to say? Anybody else you want to thank before we get you out of here?
Yeah, like I said, I want to thank my teammates, Scott, Toby, Caleb. Through the whole season, we had a great season as a team. We've kind of had some bad luck beforehand, but we had a good feeling coming into this season that it'd be really good. And it's awesome racing with those guys. It's a really good atmosphere in there. It's like a big family. So we're able to communicate well and just have fun with each other. You guys in the booth, you've done a great job all season. The product that you put out is great. Everything looks really good. The scoreboards, just all the interfaces look really good. And then Kendall and Toby for putting on the league. It's not easy. I've heard some behind the scenes things, and it doesn't sound like fun sometimes. It is fun to get a whole group of guys together to do this, but I'm sure it has its up and downs. So those guys and just everybody that watches and every other guy in the league that participates.
That was your champion, the 2021 HighPoint.com Highline Racing League Premier Series champion, Scott Wheeler Jr., driver the number 97. Congratulations once again to Scott. And that's about it. 11 races, 11 tracks. I guess 10 and a half because we ran Bristol and Bristol Dirt. But I don't think we could have had more exciting of a finale, could we, Sarah?
No, that was an absolutely phenomenal race. I don't think you can ask for anything more as a driver, as a commentator, as a fan watching. I mean, that was absolutely top tier. We had everything from long green flag runs to chaotic short green flag runs with a bunch of cautions scattered. A really good championship battle, not just for first, but for third, for fourth, for 10th. Absolutely wonderful race.
Well, here are the final points standings. Wheeler over Kundman by 2 points. Caleb Morrissey, that incredible drive at the end of the season, only 15 points behind. So he's going to be hoping that the season was twice as long, but he'll be able to take that momentum to next season. Zellner and Green round out the top 5, and Brad Kress hangs on to that final spot in the top 10. Congratulations to everybody, especially our champion Scott Wheeler Jr. And we'd just like to thank everybody. Thank you for tuning in to FTF.GG and under its former name in the first 10 rounds, for watching all these series. Thank you to the admins and all the drivers of the Highline Racing League for allowing us to put on a show. Personally, I've had a lot of fun. Sarah, I know you've had a lot of fun in the 3 races you've been in the booth, and hopefully one way or another we'll be around next season. So we'll sign off for now. From Richmond Raceway, I'm Joey Tebben. That's been Sarah Tessum. Zach Johnson's been in the background. Until next time, so long.